Good afternoon and welcome back to Gulfstream Park. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday afternoon on Gulfstream today. I'm Gabby Gaudette, joined by Acacia Courtney the day after an excellent day at Gulfstream, the Fountain of Youth, of course, and the Devona Dale. And I lost a little pep in my step this morning. Yesterday was a pretty intense card. We had 9 stakes races, and all of them really did deliver.
They really did. Some really sensational performances yesterday and 13 races on the card. And I think I remember just kind of after the Fountain of Youth yesterday sitting down for the first time all day, and it kind of all sunk in after that. But definitely a great card to watch, a great betting card as well. And some really exciting performances, of course, as you said, highlighted by the Fountain of Youth onto the road for the Kentucky Derby. And what a Kentucky Derby year it's kind of shaping up to be.
It's very, very odd. Honestly, looking at some of the Derby preps in Florida, both at Tampa and Tier, and then looking at some of the Derby preps really all across the country, including New York. Yesterday was the Gotham, and Ella Reeb was the heavy favorite in that race. He actually lost that race, and congratulations to Dale Romans for getting the victory there. I still think his performance was a little bit excusable, but Irish War Cry, we'll get into the Fountain of Youth in just a moment, but we wanted to backtrack to yesterday afternoon and wanted to show you the Devona Dale, of course, equally as important, some of the preps leading into the Kentucky Oaks. And I thought that this was a very impressive performance, almost workmanlike, and we see this from her every time she wins. Acacia, Miss Sky Warrior, she does what she needs to do to win.
She really is a workmanlike horse. It's a good way to phrase it. And I spoke to her trainer, Kelly Breen, after the race, and he was saying, not quite sure what her path will be from here forward, but of course they are looking at getting her to the Kentucky Oaks, maybe a race in Kentucky prior to that. And he was saying that he was happy with the versatility that she showed yesterday, because in some of her previous races, of course, coming off the win in the Demoiselle, she had shown a lot of that early speed. She had to be wide. She sat a little bit off the pace yesterday, and she just kind of grinded out that win, and I thought it was a very nice performance from her.
Paco Lopez with a very confident ride there as well. But congratulations to them in the Devona Dale. A nice filly they have on their hands as we turn our attention to the Fountain of Youth. And it was an interesting race in that going in, Acacia, there were several horses who said, or several connections saying that they were going to take back or they were going to go, and really everybody went going into the first turn.
Everybody seemed to want to be intent on the lead. And interestingly enough, Irish War Cry, the winner of the Holy Bowl here, went off as the heavy favorite. Unfortunately, did not produce yesterday, but Guinevere certainly did.
And we'll show you the stretch run of the Fountain of Youth, and he certainly did indeed. And a lot of people saying that he did get the right setup. As we said, there was kind of a blanket of horses going into the first run. But you can't discount this horse's performance, and I think of all of the horses that are on the Derby Trail, he probably has the most consistency to him. He was second in the Holy Bull. He was hindered by the pace in that race. Of course, Irish War Cry left to his own devices on the front end in a slow pace. So he won that race legitimately, and it was really exciting to see Antonio Santa. He was so happy after the race.
It was really cool. I mean, I think he made it all the way to the first turn. He went running down the racetrack, and it's just so great to see that kind of enthusiasm. I don't know how many people they were able to fit into the winner's circle, but it was a lot. And he really has been consistent, so it's cool to see him, and for local connections here, running consistently at Gulfstream as well. And some nice performances, tough fought performances from Practical Joke and Three Rules to be second and third, but an explosive victory there.
And Irish War Cry, of course, going to Twitter and seeing Grand Motion, he did say that really he found no problems with the horse. He came back okay. He shipped back to Palm Meadows, and everything seems to be fine with him. Maybe he just regressed off of his performance in the Holy Bull. For what it's worth, one thing that I did notice going into the gate, Guinevere looked like a completely different horse yesterday than he did in the Holy Bull, and vice versa. I thought that Irish War Cry looked like not quite the same horse that we saw prior to the Holy Bull.
I think the wheels seem to be turning a little bit more for Irish War Cry yesterday, kind of a little bit more of a thinker attitude, whereas he really was so unflappable before the Holy Bull. But we saw Guinevere Paddock schooling here prior to the Fountain of Youth. That really did seem to make a big difference, and he looked much more professional yesterday than a few weeks ago.
Well, that really just confuses everybody, I think, moving forward towards the first Saturday in May. But we have a lot to get to today. Reminder, 13 races on tap here at Gulfstream on this Sunday afternoon. So we'll take a look at our wagering menu today, and we do start things off in the opener with that rolling super high five. The 50-cent early pick five does kick off in today's first race too. Acacia will have a ticket for that. That is a 50-cent based wager. Moving along to the sixth race on the card, that does start the middle pick four, the 50-cent pick four. That bet was actually really popular yesterday. As we get to the eighth race on the card, it does kick off the 20-cent Rainbow Six. Over a $212,000 carryover in that, of course, kind of left over from some of our guaranteed pools yesterday. In race 9, the late pick 5 does start, and in the 10th race, the late pick 4 starts. So we are fast and firm. We're on the turf with a noon post, and last time I checked, it is extremely windy here, obviously, but last time I checked, kind of looking at the flags, it looks like an east wind, but we saw it really changing throughout the day yesterday, an east wind to the south wind, so it was a tailwind coming down the stretch, a headwind on the back stretch. So something to just keep in mind. I think it might be even windier this afternoon, wind gusts getting up to 44 miles per hour.
It is very windy today, and that's definitely something to keep in mind. We did kind of see early on in the day yesterday that the horses on the front end were having a much easier time, horses trying to make up ground, and then as you said, it did kind of shift, so definitely something to keep an eye on throughout the afternoon.
Let's get to today's opener, and let's see your ticket, Acacia.
Okay, we'll give you a look at my pick 5 ticket. No single for me today, but I did try to keep it affordable. It seems like I really like the one horse today in the first 5 races, so hopefully that'll come through, but $54 to start things off, just using 2 deep in the first leg, 2 by 3 by 3 by 3 by 2.
7.5 furlongs on the turf for this open at $16,000 condition, and we'll go back to a race that 2 horses come out of in Star Contender and Seuss. And I guess, well, Seuss today is 2-1 on the morning line. First off the claim for Mike Maker. Star Contender is 9-5 for trainer Tino Attard. And overall, I thought Star Contender, it was a better performance from this horse. He went to the lead at an aggressive ride by Jose Lezcano. Good performance, kind of trying to dictate on the front end. And I didn't see much of an excuse from Seuss. He just followed the leaders home. That said, it's first off the claim for Mike Maker today.
It is, and Jose Ortiz climbs in the saddle, so lots of things to like there. First off the claim on the turf, Mike Maker is about 22% at Gulfstream, so definitely something that you want to keep in mind. I did use both of those horses on the early pick 5, but gave the nod to Seuss today with the barn change.
And I think Star Contender you probably should use, and for what it's worth, Tino Attard with winners last out on the turf. He's 2 for 16, 13%, just not a big sample size, so I think it's hard to hold him accountable for a negative ROI there, but he might be the lone speed in here once again. It doesn't look like any other horse has a lot of speed, so he very well could. We saw speed be pretty strong on both surfaces yesterday, especially with the wind situation, so he could be left to his own devices again.
He could, and as I said, that's why I do think that you have to use both of them. I saw that same stat that you did, but Jose Lezcano stays aboard, and if he is able to dictate like he did last time out, he definitely could be dangerous in this field.
Could be a formful way to kick off the early pick 5 in race 1 as we get to the second race. The 6250 non-winners of 2 lifetime event 1-turn mile on the main track, and Antonio Sano brings out the 1 High Dandy, who is the 9-5 morning line favorite in here. I think you and I both go against this horse because of the fact that he hasn't won in quite some time, and he is 1 for 19 on form. Just looks a little bit pace dependent.
He does, and that's why I did take a little bit of wait and see with him. He's dropping in class, which probably explains the low morning line price in here as he goes from the 12.5 non-winners of 2 to the 62.50, and he's been running solidly against tougher competition, finishing third in his last 4 races, but that's just kind of it. He seems to be finishing third, and he certainly could wake up today, but I did go a bit elsewhere. And another horse that's dropping in class but also moving back to the dirt, and that's Fletcher is Golden, and certainly he has his own fair share of questions, but did like the way that he won 2 starts back, and I do think he was compromised by the post last time as well.
And he could sit a nice stalking trip. My only worry with him is that he was beaten by Into the Future 2 times before, and he was bet down to 20 cents to the dollar when he broke his maiden. So that just goes to show you how easy the field was. He was supposed to win that race. So I still like him better than the heavy favorite because he's got positional speed. But the 3 Into the Future, I thought he might be able to wire the field. He did get away with slow fractions last time out, but I don't see a lot of pace in here. So he could kind of do the same thing. And he has limited starts on a fast main track, only 3, and he's been in good form in those 3 races. Singleton was much the best 2 starts back. I just think that he could have the tactical advantage. This is the right level for him.
It is the right level for him, and he's been pretty consistent. I did kind of think that the 2 comps of Fu on the stretch out might show a little bit more speed, but I don't think he's nearly as fast as Into the Future, so speed will definitely be his best weapon today.
Let's get to the 3rd race, an allowance optional claimer as we get to the main track at 7 furlongs. And you and I both land towards the inside with the number 1, Impressive Edge. And I kind of tried to handicap this race in predicting the big picture of it and how it might be run. And I saw that maybe My Tai Went On was going to be on the lead. Do You Want a Salsa just to his outside could potentially press, and maybe Alex again would be a type of horse to stalk and make that first run into a pace that could collapse, whereas I want a horse that's going to make that last move, and that's what I saw from Impressive Edge.
And I saw it exactly the same way. I did think My Tai Went On would be the main speed. Certainly Always Dude is one that likes to be on the front end, but he's stepping up from $16,000 claiming level. I think he meets a much tougher field today, and I don't think that his speed is perhaps legitimate against this level of competition. So Impressive Edge could certainly come running, and after he broke his maiden off of about a 6-month layoff, they really thought so highly of him to put him into the grade 2 swale, and he did finish 4th in that race, beating about 9 lengths, but again, he was stepping up right from his maiden win to a grade 2 event against some very tough company. We're just talking about 3 rules, finishing 3rd in the Fountain of Youth yesterday, favorable outcome, a very determined victory that day. So a tough competition, and pace-wise, it could set up for him.
And that's how I saw it as well. But we do have the 6th, Alex, again, second off the layoff for trainer John Service, does get the blinkers on for the first time. And he comes out of a pretty legitimate race. I was questioning Malagasy and, if his maiden score was legitimate. He came back to blow the allowance field away. So he does look like a legitimate horse, and I think we have a stat for the connections.
We do. In the past 5 years, this is on trainer John Service. First time blinkers in dirt sprint. Definitely a little bit of a vote of confidence here for Alex again. 16 for 62, 26% win, a 222 ROI, and finishing in the money more than half the time. And as you said, that was coming out of a very strong race. Malagasy won by 7. That was also his first time with the addition of LASIK. So they tried adding LASIK last time. Now they add the blinkers, and he certainly doesn't find a cushy spot, but I don't know if he's going to have a runaway winner like Malagasy in here, and definitely one to respect. I did use all 3 of those horses in the pick 5.
And it's a dude. I could see maybe someone looking at this horse, but the blinkers go on. He made up so much ground last time out. And if you remember, Northern and another horse were kind of dueling on the front end, and they got so short coming down the stretch. They went very quickly in front of this horse. So I think it really set up for him.
I think it did too. And you did see some horses come back to win. White Smoke came back next time out with a 75 buyer, and Sal's Jet did come back to win in Maiden Claiming Company as well. So maybe a good race, but I agree it did set up for him.
We'll get to the 4th race here, a maiden $50,000 race. We're going to the main track at 6 furlongs, and I went back and forth between 2 horses, and those were my 2 top selections. You went in a different direction with the 7, I want Mo for trainer Eddie Pliza. Good outside post position.
And I like the post for him, and we'll show a trainer stat on Eddie Pliza Jr. in the past 5 years, made him claiming dirt sprints in the money last time out. He's 38%, a positive ROI, and 62% of the time in the money. Not the biggest sample size, but it is strong numbers, 10 for 26. And this horse was second last time, yes, beaten about 3.5 lengths. And 2 starts back, actually, and made in $75,000 company. He was beaten as the heavy favorite, and he's kind of gone a little bit further down the claiming scale in each start. Now, he does stay at the $50,000 level like he ran against last time. He just came into a very sharp runner in Coors Loot last time out. So I'm giving him a little bit of a try today. That's probably because I kept looking to the inside with horses like Yes Darlin' and just deciding I wanted to go elsewhere and find somebody else.
And there's no harm in that either. But I want Mo. He is a horse that has that outside post position. He very well could kind of control the race from the outside. But I thought there were maybe some horses that were coming out of stronger races, not necessarily running equivalent Beyer speed figures, but maybe could improve finding a lighter group today. And that came by the way of the three matter of Factor, a second-time starter for John Service. This is a significant drop in my opinion. He's coming from open maiden special weight company to the maiden $50,000 tag today, and he was running against Diamond Jim, really nice first-time starter for Todd Pletcher, and we also saw Switzerland, who was a highly touted first-time starter for trainer Chad Brown. So if you look at the pedigree, you look at that race, and you see how he didn't get off to a great start, and now he's dropping in class. At 6-1, I think he's worth taking a shot.
And additionally, Giuseppe the Great did come back to win yesterday in a very tough maiden special weight field. So just kind of to, I guess, make you feel even a little bit better about your top selection, that it was a very good race, and I certainly respect him too. Maybe I'm a little bit salty because I liked him last time out, and he didn't do anything after he was bobbled at the start, showed a little bit, and then just completely stopped. So maybe the drop in class will really help him here today. He's beautifully bred, and we'll see if this can help wake him up.
And we also have the one Yes Darling, who definitely has the bottom underneath of him. He obviously stretched out to the mile, then cut back to 6 furlongs last time out. And I think this is a better post position given his running style. He draws the rail. He very well could shoot it out of the gate, and maybe he could wire the field, but I don't think I Want Mo is going to be too far away from him.
I don't either, and that's kind of what I thought about it as well. He was game last time out, but it looked like kind of just a lot of horses were closing. Speed is his weapon with the post, but after being beaten last time out, I kind of took a little bit of a pass on him today.
Let's get to the 5th race on the card, a 1.125 miles onto the main track for this open 6250 condition. And I thought that you could probably go in several different directions here. I actually had a hard time with this race, and that's what you get when you get to the bottom level here. Makaysha, you gave preference to the one Tiz Bobby, first off the claim for Angel Quiros.
And I had a tough time with this race as well, but kind of some of the other options that I thought you had in this race, I was a bit hesitant about. So I landed to the rail with Tiz Bobby first off the claim. We actually have seen some pretty sharp claims for this barn with horses that have been in form, and I think that that's the key, that this horse was already in form. Now, if you look at just his past performances recently, his most recent wins were on the slop and on the synthetic. He's certainly not a perfect option in here, but he is a 6-time winner on a fast main track. He does have 3 wins locally at Gulfstream, and last time out he did dead heat for second with another horse in here, High Quality Prince. So I'm giving him the nod today. By no means would he be a single for me in this field, but that is where I landed.
Well, the old 8-year-old, he does know how to win, so you have to give him that. He's a 9-time winner, and he has been competing against open company as of late. I don't mind the claim. I think this is a good post position for him, but overall it doesn't look like there's a lot of speed signed up. The 2 Fenerbahce looks like he's going to be the pace of the race, but the question is, can he get the distance? Can he sustain his speed? So I wanted a horse that could maybe sit a closer trip, and I'm just hoping that some of his back form and back speed can resurface today with the 4 Social Stranger for Jorge Navarro. You look at his races when he was previously trained by Jorge Navarro, and he used to show a lot of speed. So I wonder if we're going to see that today. 2 starts back was his first race off of the layoff, and last time out, he did get into some trouble. I didn't think it was significant, but I like him to maybe sit that stalking trip, whereas this field is kind of just filled with closers.
It is, and you bring up a good point that Fenerbahce definitely is the main speed in here. I like him much better at the mile distance, maybe the mile and a 16th, so took a bit of a pause with him today and put him down towards the bottom of my ticket. But Social Stranger did used to show that speed, and he just hasn't in his last couple. I don't think that the bumping at the start last time out had anything to do with him not showing speed. I don't think it was significant enough to stop him out of the gate, but his wins, his last win was in October at Parks, and you mentioned some of the barn changes. He had been trained by Jorge Navarro before, so if he shows speed, that will be to his benefit. What I do like is that he also does have a second place finish at this distance, which is something that he has above the rest of the field. I also alluded to the number 5 High Quality Prince, who I think if you give any sort of attention to Tiz Bobby, you do have to look at this one too. He's had a couple of races since they dead heated, but I do really like this horse stretching out and going a bit longer.
He's 3 for 37. I wanted to pick this horse on top so badly, and then I kept selling myself on other horses, and then next thing you know, I picked him fourth. So I thought his race 2 starts back was especially good because he made kind of that first move into the pace, and then he kept on hanging on gamely. And I do like the added distance because he doesn't have to do so much. He's not really a good closer. He's not really a good speed horse, but if the pace falls apart in front of him, that's probably how he's going to win his race. But High Quality Prince, he always shows up but doesn't necessarily always win. We'll get to the 6th race, a maiden special weight, 7 furlongs on the main track, and I heard you use this word earlier in the show. So is this the hunch bet of the day, the number 2, Salty?
This is definitely the hunch bet because I bet this horse last time out, and I remember that she almost beat the heavy Todd Pletcher favorite in Nonabella at odds of 24-1. You will absolutely not get 24-1 on her this time, so thankfully I did make some money on her last time out, but she's now in the barn of Mark Casse, and I believe we wanted to show that last race.
We will. We'll go back to that debut performance, and I think it's worth noting that Ian Wilkes, he doesn't really gear horses up to run like this first time out. So usually they need a race or 2 under their belt and then they perform like this. So you really have to pay attention to just the raw talent that she's showing. And I think you want to also look at, say, the number 4, the number 5, and even number 3, and focus on their energy in the late stages of the race. And I thought Salty had the best late energy in that she could definitely move forward, and it's pretty apparent that she's going to like added distances 7 furlongs.
Definitely. I really like her in this spot, and we will show a trainer stat on Mark Casse as well. First, after the trainer switch in maiden special weight events. Now, 8 for 33, 24% win, 42% in the money, and a 350 ROI. So this horse, it looks like she's been working very sharply. She's got a lot of raw talent, and she does get Lasix today for the first time with the barn switch, but I thought it was a huge performance from her and think that she'll only continue to get better.
I agree with that, but there are other horses in the field, including the number 3 Assertive, which is a first-time starter for Todd Pletcher, and she very well could upset the apple cart here. She's got a very nice pedigree. She's by Blame, and she's actually a half-2 Street Fancy who won first time out and won a grade 1 at 2, so there is some precocity there.
And there's a sharp work tab there as well, even sharp for a Todd Pletcher first-time starter. She's coming off a bullet, 5 furlongs in 101 and 1 at Palm Beach Downs. She does get Lasix for her debut. Some beautifully bred horses in here. A horse that you used in the Exacta Apiary, of course, a half defrosted. I took a little bit of the wait and see, maybe wanted to see one more race on this filly, but she, I remember, looked beautiful last time out.
She's beautiful, and talking to Kieran McLaughlin prior to the race, he said she's going to probably need one. She's going to need experience. She's not, the light bulb hasn't really clicked just yet, and she's probably going to need more distance. So that's what you get with her today. And I've actually found this over the past couple of years. It happens in New York. It happens here. A horse can run so badly first time out for Kieran, and they come back, and sometimes they even win in their second start. So she's 20 to 1. I don't think she'll be that high just given her pedigree, but she's got one under her belt. She did look a little green first time out, both in the paddock and kind of the running of the race, so she can only build upon that performance. I had a tough time trying to figure out what to do with the one Gifted Lady because she didn't run a bad race, and she could be the speed from the rail.
She could be, and I thought that she actually made an early move last time out and challenged Nonabella. I think Nonabella was just much sharper first time out for Todd Pletcher that day. She comes from a very precocious family as well. It looked like she was just ready to go. She was going to win that race. While we saw Salty closing on the outside with that really good energy, Gifted Lady was kind of stopping, but again, she had gone up sooner to challenge the pace setter.
It's a very interesting race there, but you and I both landed on Salty there at a very short price. We get to the 7th race, another maiden race, but a maiden 12,500 event, 6 furlongs onto the main track here. And this is another one that could be difficult in terms of multi-race sequences. We've got 2 first-time starters in here coming out of barns that do okay with their first-time maiden claimers. We've got a big class dropper for Todd Pletcher that you don't really know what to do with. And then we've got horses who've been okay at the level.
They have, and I went with a first-time starter because sometimes you just look at these races and you want the one that has the least amount of excuses. And you mentioned barns that do well. Ralph Nix, first-time starter in maiden claiming on the dirt. He's 18%, 56% in the money, and a nearly even ROI. Does get apprentice Carlos Hernandez in the saddle and has a pretty solid work tab as well. Does debut at the bottom, so we'll see what to expect from her, but maybe she, as I said, just has the least amount of excuses.
That was my only concern with her, is why I kind of bumped her down the ticket, was that, yes, Ralph Nix does a great job with his maiden claimers debuting, but usually they're at a higher level, say it be 25, 30, even 50 sometimes. So if you really kind of hone in on that DRF stat, I think he started maybe 3 horses at this bottom level, and they haven't done very well. So that is why I kind of took the wait and see. Other than that, I think 2 horses that you could use. The 6, Love Again, she might have just caught an easy field today, and she's been almost breaking through at the level. Was a little bit disappointed last time out as she was the beaten favorite, but this is probably one of the easiest fields that she's faced in her career, with the exception of the 8, Mary Sue, We Love You. We really don't know what we might see from her.
No, we don't, and I like Love Again in here. I certainly respect her consistency. It's just that she hasn't been able to break through yet. She does find a very easy field today, but you bring up a good point about Mary Sue, We Love You, because this is a horse that debuted in special weight. She was a $150,000 purchase, and now she's going to be running for 12.5 on the dirt after 3 starts on the turf. You don't often see Todd Pletcher in a 12.5 maiden.
No, you don't. And she could either wire the field. She's shown that she can have a little bit of speed, or she could run really badly. We don't know what you get with a horse like this, but I do know one thing. You have to use her if you're playing those multi-race sequences, because she's just too scary to leave off of the ticket. That is races 1 through 7. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll tackle the 20-cent Rainbow 6 big carryover today, and we'll take a look at the late pick 5.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve, give bettors the information they need to win, and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet. We are racing.
Welcome back to Gulfstream today. Now looking at the 20-cent Rainbow 6. It does kick off in the 8th race on this 13-race program. We have a carryover over $212,000 in the sequence today, so I think you can afford to put in a few extra dollars here for the sequence. will show my ticket here. It is $64.80. I could not find a single, and my first go at this was, I think, in the $80 range. So that's where I'd probably feel comfortable, but we're going to do our best here, just using 2 horses to start things off. I do think that a lot of people will single abbreviate, but I do have an opinion with another horse in here, which we'll get to in a second, the 4 Bernard Diva. As we move along, just using 3 horses by 3, using 2 in the 11th, and then capping it off 3 by 3, $64.80. And a nice competitive maiden special weight on the turf at a 7.5 furlongs. We have 3 scratches, the 3 inside horses. Of course, the main track only entrant, the 13 too. So the 14 Fancy Kitten does draw in off the also eligible, and that is where Paco Lopez does land.
He is, and Emiseo Jaramillo will instead be aboard the number 5. She's all ready. And you mentioned abbreviate. A big performance last time, 1 of 2 in here for Chad Brown, and I do agree that she will be heavily bet after that, but I did think she ran very well.
She did, and we'll show you that video spotlight replay just coming down the stretch. And she, I thought, ran a huge race. It almost kind of looked like Joel thought he might have had a little bit more horse, and then he had to get after her a little bit coming down the stretch. You can see she's extremely wide coming down the final turn around the quarter pole, and then she starts to kick it in. You can see she hasn't been encouraged by the whip until right here, and then she starts to dig in, and I do think that she might have been a little bit distracted by the greenness of Adorable Miss just to her inside.
Adorable Miss was drifting all over the place, and I do think that it forced Abbreviate to go even a little bit wider, and then when she had room, she started closing, and then Adorable Miss started to drift again, and it is just something that happens in these younger fillies, and I think that she still ran very well, all things considered. It was a very close race, so I'm giving her the nod again today, but as you said, she will be a short price, and the number 4 Bernard Diva, I think she had a tough trip last time out with the post position. That was also her first time with Lasix, and that was not an easy field that she faced last time either.
It was not an easy field. You see Scheme in the running lines, Ritzy Rose too, and I think that's, you hit the nail on the head. Her post position really compromised her. When you have an outside post going 7.5 furlongs, good luck if you don't make the lead. And I do think with this rail post position, she very well could make the lead with an aggressive ride by Johnny Velasquez today. And we saw how strong speed was yesterday on the turf too. So I'm hoping that that's the strategy, because if that's not, I think she could have the tactical advantage. If that's not the case, then Abbreviate, I think, might be the better horse in here, but she could have the tactical edge. And she ran a 74 by her speed figure in December. A lot of times we see fillies going from their 2-year-old season to their 3-year-old season improve. So she could be on the same level as Abbreviate when it's all said and done. I wanted to quickly mention the 7 Longleaf. I love this horse's pedigree, and I'm all about the mare because she has produced horses that I love. Hold Harmless is one of them for Shug McGahee and Stuart Janney, and another one is Onus, and she broke the track record at Laurel. She's a multiple graded stakes winner. She did take a couple starts to win, but I just love the pedigree, and I couldn't leave her off.
It is a beautiful pedigree, and Onus was a really nice turf horse as well. And this horse has some really sharp, flashy work tap, couple of works on the Payson Park turf course that definitely turn heads. Of course, does another head turn with Jose Ortiz in the saddle. I had a little bit of interest in another first-time starter where there's a lot of precocity in the pedigree of Silver Dollar Diva. Now, I do wonder about debuting on the turf. That was one of my biggest questions, but this one is kin to Beautician, who was multiple graded stakes place, won at first asking, second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, and also kin to graded stakes winner Mo Tom. So it's a nice pedigree. We'll see how she does at first asking.
I thought the same thing. I thought it was kind of curious why she did start on the turf, because she, on the bottom side especially, she's got a lot of pedigree to suggest a dirt horse, but it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen this type of move be successful for trainer Chad Brown, who had a fantastic day yesterday. 3 winners?
3, I believe, yes.
3 winners, almost 4 with Practical Joke. We'll get to the 9th race on the card to kick off the final pick 5 of the day. A mile onto the turf. Acacia, did you find a single?
I did not. This was not an easy sequence to narrow in on, so I wanted a little bit of coverage, but kept it affordable. I pared it down as well from where it started. So $36 will do it for me, using just 2 horses here to kick things off. Then going 3 by 3 by 2 by 2 in the last. A little bit of questions in the last, so we'll see if just 2 horses will do it for me if I get there. $36 here.
Nice affordable ticket there, $36 flat, and we'll take a look at this race, a state bred allowance optional claimer, and we go back to the performance where both Prince Vincenzo and Favorite Air come out of, and we saw Prince Vincenzo just get beat by 3/4 of a length in here. The 3 Favorite Air you can see down on the inside, whereas the 4 Prince Vincenzo is outside, and I thought made a great move right here. Unfortunately, Favorite Air was stuck down on the inside, and it looks like he might have enough room to go through, and then the seam completely closes up, and then he has to kind of recuperate. He just can't find the right path. Whereas honestly, Prince Vincenzo, he really had an unencumbered trip, and he just couldn't get up in time. It looked like he kind of ran out of real estate. And now the interesting part is it's second start for Lily Curtinez for the 2 Favorite Air, and it's first off the claim for Prince Vincenzo. So a couple of shifting type of factors here.
Absolutely. And last time out, I thought Favorite Air coming off of a layoff as well. It was a good point, just had no place to go. And even after that seam closed, he had to tap on the brakes again a little bit. So a very tough trip for him. While Prince Vincenzo, I thought, didn't really have that much of an excuse. Yes, he was a bit wide, but first off the claim on the turf for Kathleen O'Connell. In the past 5 years, she is 0 for 17. I do think that Kathleen O'Connell does excellent work with each of her horses. They always look great physically, and this one does have a bit of back class. So I wouldn't totally discredit him, but I did put him a little bit further down, and I think both you and I wanted something totally different than that race. You go to a class dropper. I went to another one first off the claim. The number 5 just fooling around for Fernando Abreu will do it for me, because I think I'll get a price on him after that clunker of a race last time out. And he doesn't claim that frequently, or at least in the past couple of years anyway. But since the claim had a very sharp work on the main track here and has done well at this level prior to that bad race, plus Jose Ortiz in the saddle.
And you get, you potentially could get a good price on him. The 6 Market Strength is one that I did opt for. He's been close against $30,000 claimers. They gave him, I guess, a little bit of a break there, listed as a first-time gelding today. Uncle Guy was a closer in the last race who did wind up winning, but I didn't think the race necessarily set up for closers. I thought Uncle Guy was probably just the best horse in the race, and I like the fact that Amicio Jaramillo is aboard today. It looks like this horse just really either wants to be a bit more forward or really strong aggressive ride coming down the stretch. So 6 Market Strength for me, but a fun way to kick off the pick 5 as we get to the pick 4. 5.5 furlongs on the main track for this maiden claiming event, and the 3 Mike's Muscle Man 8-5. No thank you.
No thank you for me. It was a heavy favorite last time out, first off the claim for Carlo Vaccarezza, and he ran okay. He was beaten a neck, but you go back and this horse, he's got some early speed, but he just has had no excuse in some of his previous races and just still hasn't been able to get the job done. He was beaten by our man Adagio 2 starts back. Yes, he gets Jose Ortiz today. Yes, he's second off the claim. Yes, he has speed, but I don't want him at that price.
Neither do I, and I think 2 alternatives and legitimate alternatives would be the 8 Shot Jack, who gets blinkers on and comes to the main track today. Good pedigree to like the main track and some strong workouts to suggest that he should be okay. He probably just doesn't, I don't think it's a suspicious move to drop this horse to the bottom level after his performance on the turf last time.
No, definitely not a suspicious move. He was beaten 11 lengths last time sprinting on the turf, so they'll try the dirt here. It's a good barn, a high percentage barn with Amicio Jaramillo in the saddle. Lots of changes for sure, but I do think that most recent work on the deep track at Gulfstream Park West is encouraging, and he's 8-1 on the morning line. I don't know if he'll be that, but he certainly will be a better price than Mike's Muscle Man.
Tough post for the 10 El Gran Noel, just considering his running style. He's unfortunately drawn outermost post positions a lot of the time in his career. He's going to have to overcome that too. Sometimes he's just not quick enough to make the lead. I wonder what he can do when he finally draws the rail post position, the poor horse. But I think one to definitely use as well as we get to the 11th race. 1 1/16 on the turf for the starter allowance optional claimer. And I actually looked at Eminent Force for a very, very long time, and I think we have a stat on him.
We do, and I'll show this stat for trainer Michael DiPaolo in the past 5 years in the money last time out on the turf. Now, he is just 18% win, 38% in the money. It's a positive ROI of 211, but I guess I'm kind of just sticking with this horse because I liked him last time. A couple starts back, he won against $25,000 starter optional claiming types, this level and distance of what he'll face today. And that was a string of 3 wins in a row. They stepped him up in class and he found a sloppy track, reined off the turf. He stumbled coming out of the gate. Edgar Prado was fine, but he was off before the race even started. Then last time out, he came back. It was at the 7.5 furlongs, and he ran a good race. So I really like him on the stretch out in distance and in this spot here. I think he now may be second after that bit of a troubled trip. He's back in a spot where he really can be effective.
He's tactical. He can go to the lead. He can stalk. He really can win from any position. He's good at this distance, and he definitely knows how to win. He's an 8-time winner out of 27 starts, and you love to see those types of horses in these types of conditions. So that's why I had confidence in just using 2 horses. I do like Eminent Forest, but the 7 lay that pistol down. First off the claim for Jorge Navarro, picks up Jose Ortiz, 2, a potent combo here. And he's also coming out of, in my opinion, a very strong race. We saw one horse win out of that race, coming back and getting an 88 Beyer speed figure. Of course, Siding Spring came back to win with a 94 Beyer speed figure against 2 other than Allowance Company. So this is a good condition, and I think Jorge Navarro off the claim, he just read the condition book, and this is a perfect spot for this horse.
It really is a perfect spot, and I've liked this horse for a couple starts because I think he had a really tough trip in the Claiming Crown Emerald. He had to be incredibly wide in that race, and then he came back with a bit of a disappointing performance. Perhaps it was maybe a little bit discouraging that it was against some of the horses that he will face today, but I thought he ran very well last time out against that tough competition, so I certainly respect him in this spot too.
And it looks like we both agree, just different, a little different, yeah, flip-flopped. And just as I said, using those 2 horses in the Rainbow Six. We'll get to the 12th race, first half of the late daily double on this 13-race program, 7.5 furlongs on the turf, open $16,000 event. And I guess we'll go back and start with a video spotlight replay. We have 2 horses in here that will potentially take a lot of money. One of them is the 5 Thinking of Mom. She was number 3 this day, and then we see the number 2 on a star as well. And we'll kind of watch the stretch run here, the pan shot, and it looks like she has to, on a star, it takes a little bit of time to finally switch her leads here, but when she finally does, she's really tenacious, and she's coming down the stretch. She's trying to win. Unfortunately, the horse just to her inside, Miss World Venezuela, keeps drifting her out and even bumping her pretty hard. So that's where the disqualification came into play.
And that was certainly fair. She came right out into her path, Miss World Venezuela, and really impeded on a star, trying to get the win that day. I thought it was a game performance from her. And this is a horse that I do think that she's good at this distance here. She's got a good spot there. Jose Ortiz in the saddle, and something that we keep saying, once Carlo Vaquera's horses really do get in form, they tend to stay there. And so I liked On a Star certainly better in this spot than Thinking of Mom, though I do use Thinking of Mom in the exacta. She's an easy horse to root for, as she's been ultra consistent even with some barn changes. She won from a way outside post 2 starts back. Just didn't like that she was beaten as such a heavy favorite last time.
I did use a 7 Taller Sister just to her inside, just to jazz things up for exacta purposes, because I do think that this is a big drop for her. She comes out of Stakes Company last time out. Prior to that, she was facing 2 other than Allowance Company. Now we're still waiting for the rider to heat up. He is 4% here so far. That was a concern, and the blinkers on last time out did make her a little bit keen, so I'm hoping that she can kind of settle herself today. But she's got some back numbers that would make her competitive. I think she fits with this level. This is a right spot for her against Open Company.
It is, and I remember seeing her last time out before the Mary Todd, and she's very good-looking mare still, and she was a bit keen last time. I agree with you. I think she expended some energy early, and she certainly on the class drop could just have class alone help her carry through versus some other horses who have been beaten at this level.
We very well could see that, but I do think that the horses that figure to take money are probably the two to beat. Was just trying to get creative with Taller Sister there for Jonathan Shepard. We get to the 13th and final race today. 16,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime, 5 furlongs on the turf, and I'm sticking with one more horse, one more final time, and that is the 2. She read my text. Off of the layoff, Acacia, she really didn't do well going 2 turns at 1 1/16. They cut her back in distance. I still thought that was too far. She's not a 2-turn sprinter. She's a 5-furlong sprinter. So right level, right distance. I think she's the speed from the inside.
She's definitely going to show some speed. That does look to be the name of her game. And her 5-furlong sprint races are definitely much stronger than the 2-turn ones. I looked at her for a while in here, but I ended up going with a horse that I do like and had a bit of a funky trip last time out. I actually thought could have gotten second. I don't think there was any beating Bermuda Triangle last time out. I just think that he ended up in the right spot. But last time, Graphic Strike was closing pretty strongly, and then you could see on the turf course the tracks from where the starting gate was. He actually ended up jumping those tracks a couple times, and I think cost himself a 2nd place finish that day. Luis Saez does get in the saddle, and even a couple starts back, he ran a pretty good race behind Contractor Jack, who was disqualified in there, but I think he's been pretty consistent in his last 2, so I'll give him one more try today.
And as I said, maybe even if Contractor Jack does show equivalent speed as he did last time out and pressure, my top selection, you always want to have a closer or a stalker on your ticket just as a backup plan, and as you said, does come out of a little bit of a tricky race last time out. So using those 3 horses, the top 3, to round out the pick 6, but you did kind of like the 11 Policy Portfolio. I looked at this horse for a long time too.
And I'm kind of trying to figure out what this horse's running style is. Now, is a $200,000 purchase running for 16,000 non-winners of 2, but has a bit of strong back numbers. And the maiden win 2 starts back was coming from off the pace versus showing a lot of early speed. So I think there's some versatility for this one for Aubrey Mirage.
Well, that is 13 races today. We have excellent races, though. Some of those really nice maiden special weights looking forward to. A reminder, we have that Rainbow 6 carryover, $212,000 in race 8 today. We're going to step aside, and Pete Aiello will be up next with those scratches and changes. Best of luck on today's Sunday program.
We have to take care of these horses that, give us so much joy.